Hey everybody, I'm willing to bet that a not small number of you freakout connoisseurs out there remember a riveting video from a while back of a school teacher forcibly cutting a student's hair while manically reciting the National Anthem. I always wondered what happened there, what happened to her, what happened to the students involved, what really just went on here, what the scoop was, really. But had totally forgotten until a subscriber suggested it for a deep dive. See, guys, I listen. The story turned out to be a pretty wild one, so I thought it would be a perfect episode to start the week with. This video first dropped on Reddit in a sub called R Visalia, a subreddit dedicated to local news about the city of Visalia, California, which is actually my relative neck of the woods up here in NorCal, and piqued my interest even more. I have family members who grew up there, and it's by most metrics a pretty quiet, sleepy place where very little news ever actually happens. But that fateful December, all the way back in 2018, a viral freakout would catapult the city of Visalia into the national spotlight. As I was saying, the video was initially uploaded, and still available to watch, by the way, on Reddit, posted by a user named u/Logan_1002 with the caption, "My buddy's teacher forcibly cut his hair." So this was uploaded by a friend of the main victim of the video we're about to watch. At first, the internet can be forgiven for assuming that this was some kind of joke or prank, a teacher and her students having a laugh and trying to go viral. Many of the first people to see the video out of this context, and there were millions, thought as much. Hell, I remember thinking that myself, if I recall correctly, clear back in 2018. But as it would turn out, this incident was actually dead serious, and the consequences for those involved were equally so, all too real. Let's watch it back, and then we'll dive into the weeds.
Take a seat.
What
so proudly we hail by the twilight's last streaming, whose bright stripes and Next. I'm not done. Next. Then I pick you out. Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Don't touch me.
No.
Liz?
No, Miss G.
Okay.
Miss G. Or the brown parts we watch.
Wait, do you have it?
Yes, I do.
The woman you just saw was a 52-year-old high school teacher named Margaret Geiszinger, who at the time taught chemistry for the University Preparatory High School in Visalia, California. The incident took place in her first period chemistry class, and as you can see, other students began physically fleeing the room as they realized what was happening in front of them was not an elaborate prank, but a very real and sudden hostility from their own teacher. You can see the first student flee the scene when she realizes Margaret's coming toward her, and then Margaret pivots to another student and actually grabs her hair. The young man's lawyer, yes, this absolutely went that far, described his experience as one of both confusion and fear, which might explain how he stayed still for 3 full slices of hair before fleeing the barber's chair. He couldn't believe what was happening, said Mark Vogt, an attorney for the male student whose hair was cut in the video we just watched by Geiszinger. He frankly didn't know what to do, he said. He thought to himself, me or anybody else, she's coming for someone else. And in the video, of course, we see that later, but he was absolutely terrified, end quote. Students who were present during the fateful haircut incident said that she had arrived to class that day apparently premeditating this action, stating, quote, "It's haircut day," and brandishing a pair of scissors as she arrived. They also said, and you'll find this juicy, but this apparently wasn't the first incident like this that had alarmed Margaret's students or staff. according to ABC 30, days before the strange episode in the classroom of Margaret Geiszinger, the teacher who forcibly cut a student's hair, students say the science teacher was already showing signs of odd behavior, end quote. One student reported under the promise of anonymity because they feared retaliation. She just started yelling at the students for not having the test, and she made a student cry. So this wasn't the first outburst this teacher had on her students, and in fact, the last incident had happened only a few days beforehand. It turns out later from further research that I did that this was over a single missing test that she had, I guess, discovered missing, and she lost it on the students as a result. One student said, there were a lot of people mad at the principal for not taking action beforehand and not stopping her because she threw a tantrum, or before she threw a tantrum. And this was, of course, a student speaking about the first incident over the test. And that's not all, because there was yet another incident, this one reported by a student on social media after this whole thing went down, where Geiszinger had asked a student if she had ever heard a teacher use the bathroom before while they were together in the women's bathroom one day, which seems an extremely inappropriate comment for a teacher to make under really any circumstances. So, with two previous incidents and several students reporting an apparent pattern of odd behavior, there does seem to be an established pattern here that the adults in charge were either missing or ignoring. Online records also reveal that Margaret had her credentials suspended on two previous occasions, one all the way back in 2007 for a week period, and another one in 2016 where the suspension that time lasted 2 weeks. These different incidents and stories about past behavior seem to contradict Margaret's husband, who told ABC 30, quote, "It's a shock to me. That's out of her character. She doesn't do stuff like that. It's not her. It's not who she is. So I don't know what's going on with her. I don't have any clue as to why she did that." So this is her husband saying that, by the way. First thing that occurred to me, ask her. You live with her. Okay, so although we can only speculate, it seems like other people have witnessed some bizarre behavior from her in several different previous occasions, rather than this coming out of nowhere as the husband suggests. There were myriad reasons that could have explained this, from a mental health-related episode to irresponsible narcotic use, but that's not for us to speculate on, especially me. What I can tell you is that the fallout of this incident was absolutely tremendous for Mrs. Geiszinger. First, there was the matter of the victim, a high school junior at the time, whose name has obviously been withheld from the public, and I have no interest in doxing him here, whose family enlisted the help of a Fresno-based law firm and their attorney, Mark Vogt, who I quoted earlier in this piece. According to the student's lawyer, he hadn't decided if and when he would return to the school, even after several days, and seemed like he was just gathering facts to pursue a civil case if the criminal case happened to fail. Next, there was the actual criminal charges against her, and these were the big ones. For her actions, Margaret was arrested on December 5th and charged, according to several major news reports, with 6 counts, including both child cruelty and battery, and was jailed until her release after pleading not guilty to all charges. Margaret faced up to 3.5 years in jail if convicted on all 6 counts. She was released on $100,000 bail and ordered to maintain a sizable distance, 100 yards or more, from the school. One thing I curiously couldn't find was any final verdict on her employment status. No existing reporting suggests she was fired other than The Blaze, which didn't substantiate the headline's claim that she was fired inside of the article itself when I looked. But the school did confirm that the teacher would, quote, not be returning to her classroom. And that actually wasn't the school, that was the school district it oversees. The family went very private about the incident after the charges, and despite my best efforts, I wasn't able to find any information about her conviction. But we do hear from Margaret's sister a few days later when she gives a live interview about the incident and how the family was dealing with it.
She has had episodes of, bizarre behavior, outbursts of bizarre behavior since she was a little girl.
An update tonight on a story that's made national headlines this week. An ABC News exclusive interview with a sister of a Visalia teacher caught on video cutting a student's hair in class. It sheds some light on the teacher's behavior. 52-year-old Margaret Geiszinger now faces several charges as a result. Her sister says Geiszinger is now undergoing treatment for mental health issues.
Viral video showed University Preparatory High School teacher Margaret Geiszinger forcibly cutting the hair of a student while singing the Star-Spangled Banner.
Okay.
She then held up a pair of scissors while grabbing the hair of another student. Elizabeth Erngren says her sister has a history of bizarre behavior.
Unfortunately, this video is out there, and she does look like the crazy science teacher, hair chopping science teacher, but really that is not her.
Erngren described her sister as good-hearted. She said Geiszinger is undergoing a psychiatric assessment, something she probably needed decades ago because of anxiety issues following a divorce.
She's in the hospital. She's getting evaluated, and the good news is she's finally admitted that she needs help.
Geiszinger was jailed on 6 misdemeanor counts, including cruelty to a child. The 16-year-old student in the video didn't think his chemistry teacher would actually snip off chunks of his hair.
I mean, let's be clear here. Nobody got hurt in this. There was no tragedy really involved in it. I mean, she had scissors, but she didn't hurt anybody.
Okay, yes, it's true that Margaret's outburst didn't cause any physical harm per se to the students, but butchering a kid's hair, a student in high school, in front of their peers and eventually the whole world in a massive viral video would probably be a pretty humiliating and disturbing thing to endure and be, the centerpiece of. Then there's also the part where she actually grabbed another student by the hair, the one who fled the room. I think her sister is sanitizing this just a bit here.
The student whose hair was cut was wary of returning to UPHS on the College of the Sequoias campus.
The family shared with me some concern about the student going back to school, and it ranged from safety to pure disruption of the academics.
State records indicated Geiszinger's teaching credential was suspended in both 2007 and 2016. Erngren says when it comes to mental health issues, admission is the first step.
She's very, very ashamed and remorseful for her behavior.
Elizabeth Erngren says the incident has been very traumatic to the entire family. She says they thought her sister's occasional outbursts were just part of her personality, but looking back now, Erngren admits there should have been an intervention at some point.
Finally, a police report provided to the Sun-Gazette a couple of weeks later provided a more thorough picture of the timeline that fateful day. According to the report, the school principal received word from the school's lead teacher at precisely 8:35 a.m. that there had been an incident in Margaret's classroom. When he arrived, Margaret told the principal that she was having problems with cell phones, and so she was having haircut day. She characterized the student whose hair she had cut as a volunteer. The principal informed her that she couldn't do that and promptly sent her home. And apparently, this is very juicy as well, there was a standoff between the lead teacher who first discovered this scene because she told police that she arrived at the classroom and found Margaret loudly singing the anthem and telling two students they weren't allowed to leave the classroom. The lead teacher described standing in between Margaret and the students in question as she ushered them out, contradicting Margaret's orders. The lead teacher also stated, and this is important, that Margaret, quote, did not have any remorse for her actions and said that the students would not stand for the anthem, so she was giving haircuts, unquote. Pretty wacky stuff. But that's not where the wackiness ends, actually, because when police arrived at Margaret's home later on to arrest her and confiscate the scissors. I don't know why they would feel the need to confiscate the scissors. Evidence, it doesn't make a lot of sense. They found several locks of hair in her purse. So she from what it sounds like at least, cut her student's hair and then kept it for later. It's hard to shock me anymore, but wow. Finally, Margaret's explanation to police didn't seem to hint at any remorse either, telling them she was tired of ridiculous behavior and lamenting the frustrations she felt toward a foreign exchange student. And this is also juicy. Check this out. One of the students in the classroom who she had told not to leave, this foreign exchange student she was so bothered by, was living with her and her husband. Poor kid never had a chance. When asked if she understood that her actions scared the students, she said simply, "I bet." She also apparently noted that she didn't like teaching. Probably for the best then, all around, that she doesn't continue doing it, right? In the end, this story had way more twists and turns than I bargained for, and the arm of justice was pretty swift and brutal on this. Sounds like her teaching days are probably behind her, which again, probably for the best. Even if she does get away from this with a light sentence, she'll also probably have the civil litigation to deal with from the student's family and their lawyer. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the show. Drop your reckoning recommendations below, and just like I did with this one, I just might cover your favorite story. All right, see ya.